Hello, welcome back to my channel. So today, you may have noticed I am not in a house. I'm in my car. So, my apologies for the terrible lighting and sound and all that. I did actually bring my microphone to record today, and it simply will not work. So, here we are. Okay, so today I'm going to be answering a few questions that I've gotten over the year or so that I've been posting YouTube videos, and some of them are from Reddit, some of them are from YouTube comments, which I've replied to individually, but I also wanted to just answer these questions so that other people that might be wondering about this stuff also have answers. So yeah, I'm really hoping that no one like wanders across me recording this, because I'm just sitting in a parking lot next to a hiking trail and I look very weird just talking to myself in my car. Anyway, here's hoping. So I'm gonna start with the rather long question from my family member, because it's long. It's like 10 questions all in one question, which is fine. I'm ready to answer those questions. Let's start it off. Question 1 is sort of multi-pronged. She says, I'm wondering how you feel about the person you used to be. You're an attractive dude, but you were a pretty girl. Did you think that you were attractive as a girl? When did you realize something wasn't right? So this, I've been trying to think of an answer to this that's kind of concise. Basically, yes, I did think that I was pretty as a girl. And I think I'm pretty now. That's called self-confidence, baby. So yes, I did find myself attractive in either form, because I'm just a confident person. But I also think that this kind of, it sort of is asking, I think, if I'm not trying to put words into this person's mouth, but it sounds like the classic question, like, did you start to transition because you thought that you were ugly as a girl? And that kind of thought process is problematic in a few ways. Basically, it's saying that, like, a person wants to transition because they think that they would make a more attractive other, right? Which is not what being trans is about in any way, shape, or form. I did not start transitioning because I thought that I was ugly as a girl. I started transitioning because it felt more right. And I felt like I was not being who I wanted to be. At the same time, looks do matter to me, because, you know, I'm a human, and I care about being attractive, of course, because that's just something I care about, unfortunately. Like, I wish that I didn't, but I do. So when I first started thinking about transitioning, I was like, this is all that I'm giving up. Like, I make a pretty girl, you know? And so for a long time I was like, why would I transition? Because then I'm going to be like this short, awkward little man thing, right? Which is, you know, like, who cares? I am short. I mean, I'm like 5'5", I think, 5'6". But it's not the biggest thing about someone's personality is if they're attractive or not. And if someone's going to find me attractive, they're going to find me attractive regardless of this, right? This is just my meat suit. It's just what I put on every day to make the humans think that I'm one of them. It's not who I am, which is right here. That was really cheesy. I apologize. But yeah, so I didn't start transitioning because I wanted to be an attractive guy, although it is something that matters to me. And it also, it deserves to be said again that, yeah, I did think that I was pretty as a girl. Yeah. And so when did you realize something wasn't right? I think there was no tipping point for me where I was like, oh my god, I'm in the wrong body. I kind of just... Bug. They're trying to get in here. Anyway, So for me, I didn't have this like tipping point or this like actualization moment. Is that the right word? Realization. Um, it sort of just was a culmination of me spending way too much time trying to figure this out. Um, because when I first started thinking about my gender, I was like, "Oh my god, am I a trans man? Like, is that a thing that?" But I was like, "Ew, I don't want to be a man. Gross." So for the longest time, I was like, "Well, then certainly I can't be trans. I can't do testosterone. I can't do any of the things that I want to do because I'm not a man, and I'm still not a man. I'm just me in the flesh." I hit my car. I don't know what I'm saying right now, but basically, I'm trying to say that there was no moment where I was like, I'm in the wrong body, because I liked my body. I still like my body most of the time. It's a love-hate relationship, you know, as most things are with the human form. But I knew that I wanted to start taking testosterone because I knew I was wasting my life being someone that I didn't want to be. And yeah, and I'll talk about that later on because there's another part to this question. It's actually coming out right now. This is a good what's it called? Segue? What do they say? Okay. Anyway, so the next part of this question says, I know in the video, and I think she means my 6-month update video, you said something about needing to go on T to get a lower voice. So coming out as a lesbian and still looking / sounding like a female was not the answer. So this is another sort of question. It's kind of just wrong. So coming out as a lesbian has nothing to do with being transgender because, so like, let me start at the beginning. I'm not a lesbian. And even as I was presenting as a girl, I couldn't have come out as a lesbian because I'm not a lesbian, and I never was a lesbian. I'm bi, and many other things. It's a complicated situation there, and maybe I'll make a video about that someday. There are many words that I can use to describe myself. Lesbian has never been one of them. I've never wanted to be a lesbian because I don't like just women. I like everybody, regardless of what genitalia they have. So... yeah, I would not have ever come out as a lesbian because that's not who I am, and that's equating gender identity with sexual orientation, which those are not the same thing. So, yeah. I hope that is clarifying in some way. Like, me coming out as a lesbian would not have stopped me transitioning because I'm not a lesbian. I don't know. I don't know how else to say it. And I wanted to go on testosterone, not just to get a lower voice, but because, like, all the changes that I've seen here, like, everywhere, I love them. They are making me who I was meant to be all along, and it's like I'm finally myself, and I'm finally getting to see myself. I don't know how to answer this question nicely. Yeah, I just recommend looking into the difference between sexual orientation and gender identity, because although they do overlap, certainly, they're not the same thing. And me as a girl coming out as a lesbian is not the same as me being trans or non-binary. Like, they're not the same thing. I hope that wasn't too bitchy of a response. I really don't know how to answer that question. So, next part of the question is, do you grieve at all if the girl you used to be, how do you feel about her? No, I'm not a grieving sort. I am kind of like, it happened, it's in the past, let's move on, sort of thing. I think a lot of people who are non-binary or trans, are like, don't refer to my old self as a girl, I was never a girl, I've always been non-binary. And while that's true for me to some extent, like, I was a girl. Like, I presented as a girl, I felt like a girl. The thing is that, like, I thought that the things that I was thinking and feeling were what all girls felt. Like, oh, God, I so want to be a boy. I thought that was what girls thought about all the time. And then eventually, when I was like freaking 18 or 19, I was like, oh, maybe that's not true. Maybe most girls don't think about being a boy, how they want to be perceived as a boy so badly. Like, mind blown, right? So yeah, no, I don't grieve for my old self, because my old self is the same as my current self, just a lot happier. And just, I know myself so much better now. But it's like, I think all people are always changing, always growing, always learning about themselves. And, yeah, so I don't grieve at all. The only thing that I do, like, I do regret not starting transitioning and starting to be myself earlier on in my life, because I'm 27 now. I started T when I was just a few days away from turning 26, and then I think that I changed my name when I was 24, and then changed it again when I was experimenting, you know, and I came out publicly to like my coworkers and stuff as non-binary, using they them pronouns, for that. I think I was like 24 or 25, so I spent a long time in my life figuring all this stuff out and not being who I wanted to be. And I wish that I had had the vocabulary and the education and the visibility that people now have, which is, it's so awesome for kids growing up now. Like, they can learn about this stuff at a much earlier age. But yeah, kids now are able to have this vocabulary and have this queer visibility to figure themselves out at an earlier age, which is awesome. And, you know, I wish that I had had that growing up. Because in my dinky little white town, the only thing to be was straight. There was, you know, like, I never had visibility of people that were thinking the things that I was thinking. The next part of this question is, do you ever look in the mirror in the morning and expect to see your old self? And actually, no, it's the complete opposite. I look in the mirror now and I am like so jazzed about who I am and who I'm becoming. Like, it's like I'm finally seeing who I've wanted to see in the mirror for my whole life, you know? So yeah, I never look in the mirror and expect to see a girl looking back. Sorry, I'm dying. Yeah, so I'm very, very happy about what I look like now, and it's only going up from here. I did start taking a way lower dosage of tea because I was like having trouble getting it with insurance and everything for a long time, and my face immediately started looking way more like round and girly, and I was like, I don't like this. I don't want to look like this. So yeah, I'm very happy with what I look like right now. I never expect to see anyone else except for this. And yeah, it's pretty fun. Like, you know, sometimes I'll be like on a drive or something and I'll glance up at the rear view mirror or something and I'll see my face and I'm like, hey, that's me. And it's a great feeling to be like really excited about looking the way that you wanted to look your whole life. It's just really good. I don't know. It's great. Hope that answers your question. Next question is, does insurance pay for hormone therapy, or how does that work? And it depends on the insurance. I used to have way better insurance than I do currently through my college, and it would pay for my Planned Parenthood appointments and stuff like that. But now my college insurance kind of sucks, and I have to pay like $100 a visit. Someone just pulled up. Someone pulled up, and I had to like turn off the camera really quick. They're gone now, so I'm going to continue answering that question. What was I talking about? Insurance. Okay, so, yeah, I used to have good insurance, but I don't anymore because of college. The cool thing is that the Burlington Planned Parenthood, they have this really cool trans and non-binary, gender non-conforming fund, I guess, where if you can't afford your visit, which I never can, because I'm a broke-ass college student, they have this fund that will pay for your visit. And you don't have to pay anything toward it, but you can if you want to. So I usually, like, if my visit's going to be like $120 something, I can't pay for that. So I'll pay into the fund to the degree that I can pay. And then the rest is just taken care of, which is amazing. Amazing. Like, I'm so grateful for things like that. Yeah, so shout out to the Burlington Planned Parenthood. Hey! Bzz, bzz, bzz. Okay. Moving on. The next question is, and I've gotten this several times, did you have to undergo psychological evaluation prior to starting testosterone? She clarifies that she is not trying to imply that I need it, just a question. So yes, that's fine. And I've gotten this question also from other people because testosterone is, is it a level 1 drug, level 2 drug? I don't know. It's a very highly controlled substance, for good reason. It can do a number on your body. And it's controlled because of like sports and people like, getting jacked and cheating on sports and stuff like that. But, yeah, so it's a controlled substance, and, it's dangerous to do anything to your body without fully understanding what you're doing to it. The Planned Parenthood that I went to has a thing called informed consent, which is basically like the doctor will tell you everything about testosterone, give you a big old pamphlet of information, and at the end of it, you can sign a form saying, I understand that this is a drug that I'm putting into my body, and it may cause damage. We don't know. So you sign a form saying, I understand all of this stuff the doctor has told me, and I still am going to go ahead and do it. And that's what I did. It was pretty awesome because in my case, I thought about this for a very long time before going on testosterone, and I researched the heck out of it. I researched it nonstop. So for years, like probably since I was almost 10 years, I've been thinking about T, wondering about it, researching it, etc. So yeah, I went into it knowing everything that the doctor was already going to tell me. So I felt confident that I didn't need psychological evaluation. And also just the fact that I wasn't going into it like willy-nilly. Man, I really talk like a 70-year-old man. Anyway, the fact that I wasn't going into it without forethought is what makes me think that informed consent is good. However, it can also be used for bad, because if you're just going into it without knowing what you're getting into, because you think it'll fix all your problems, that's where you can really get into trouble. And I've seen stories about that happening with people. They start researching transgender people because they think that'll solve their problems. They think transitioning will solve their problems. And because of doctors just allowing young people to do whatever they want, these people might decide down the road that they don't want to do that. And of course, those are rare cases, But yeah, so I knew what I was getting into when I signed up for it, and I don't regret a thing. And I was also like well into my life, I'm 27 now, and I started it when I was almost 26. So I wasn't like, going through crazy hormonal chaos and hating my gender because I was an angsty teen. And I'm not invalidating people who are going through that simultaneously and saying that they're incorrect about their gender. But yeah, it's just important to think about it deeply. And if you're young, talking to a therapist or a psychologist might be smart. There is a woman running her dog past my car right now, so I'm gonna just stop talking. She's gone. Ah! Okay. God, I'm awkward. Okay, so the next question is not from her. It's from another person. Wow. Okay, so we got through that long question. I think that's those were a lot of good questions. So thank you to my aunt for asking. Thank you me for answering, and thank you her for asking them. Ah! You know, I got my second COVID shot today, so I'm gonna blame any of my added stupidity on that. Yeah, there we go. Next question. How do you identify, if you don't mind me asking? No, I don't mind you asking. Thank you for asking. I love questions. Okay, so how do I identify? I identify as non-binary. That's about it. I don't I don't really specify other than that. I don't like the word transmasculine. I don't know why. Like, a lot of people would describe me as transmasculine, right? Because I'm not a transgender man, because I'm non-binary. I don't feel like a man. But I'm also, I don't feel masculine. I don't know. Like, I think that the genderization, is that a word? The gendering, there we go. The gendering of physical traits is annoying to me because, like, yeah, okay, so I want to look more like how I look right now. Is that masculine? I don't know. I don't like these words. I think they're stupid. I understand they're just words, but I don't feel masculine. I feel way more feminine than I do masculine. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, I call myself non-binary because I am non-binary. Woo, woo, woo. I'm going to stop talking about this question now because I think that I answered it. There was another question that I got. It's actually not in this list, but this is a good time to talk about it. A friend recently was talking to me, and she asked me, so you use he or they pronouns, but you're non-binary. How does that work? And I was like, that's an awesome question, because it can be confusing to people who don't understand stuff like this. Basically, when I first came out, I was using they, them pronouns because I was non-binary, right? I was like, that's what you have to do when you're non-binary. You have to use they pronouns. And although I like they pronouns, what I don't like is expecting everyone to use they pronouns for me and being constantly disappointed. It was really hard to be using they, them pronouns and be annoyed or disappointed when people screwed them up. Because they're hard for people to adjust to. Also because I just like he more, and I think that gendering pronouns is kind of silly, personally. And so, yeah, when I say that my pronouns are he or they, what that means is that I'm still non-binary, but I feel like a combination of both of those things, right? So I'm non-binary, but I look pretty masculine, and I sound masculine. So more often than not, I get called he by randos, you know? I accept that. It's fine. However, I do still like they pronouns, you know? So when I was answering my friend, I said it a bit more eloquently, but I said something along the lines of, if there's a non-binary person, they can present in whatever way they want, right? You don't have to look non-binary. You don't have to look androgynous to be non-binary. And the same goes for masculine women or more effeminate men. Just because a man is more effeminate doesn't mean that he uses she pronouns or they pronouns, because pronouns are just pronouns. They're just words that we made up and a prescribed meaning to. Long story short, pronouns are meaningless, in my opinion, because they're just words, and I picked my favorite two, he or they. The next question is, I've been wanting to go on T, but I don't want to change that much. Just enough to be androgynous and more in between. Is there a point that you stop? Like, if you like where you're at, do you stop or lower the dosage? How do you figure that stuff out? This was kind of my problem when I first started T2 because I didn't want to look manly, and I was afraid of looking manly. But the thing is that hormones are not like an absolute thing. It's going to be all about your genetics, and it's a cumulative effect. So regardless of what dosage you go on, you're gonna probably get to the same point. It'll just take longer with like low dosages. But what takes longer is the question always, because what takes a long time for certain people, like voice lowering or facial hair, might be just instant for other people, just based on genetics. So yeah, it's really complicated and it's hard to tell. The other thing is that if you stop taking hormones, there are certain changes that will stay forever, or that are permanent, and then there are other changes that will revert back. So I was talking earlier about how when I was on a lower dosage because I couldn't get access to it because of healthcare, my face started feminizing again. But things like my voice is never going back to how it sounded before, which is good by me. But if that's not something that you want to change, then going on T could be very upsetting for you, because your voice lowering, changes downstairs are going to happen. Body hair, facial hair, like body hair will start to grow in thicker, and that's something that like you can change by shaving or waxing or whatever. Facial hair, like, you can change that too by doing those things, but once you start growing facial hair, going off of testosterone is not going to take that facial hair away. The rate of growth might slow down, but it's going to be there. Yeah, there are permanent changes, and then there are changes that will revert over time, like body fat redistribution will go back the way that it was. So yeah, if you just want to look androgynous, it's not something that you can predict, unfortunately. There are other things that you can do to look androgynous, just changing the way that you dress, your haircut, the way that you walk and talk, can look more androgynous sometimes. Yeah, but as far as hormones are concerned, you can't pick and choose what effects you get and when. Yeah, wouldn't it be nice if you could? But you can't. Like, if you want to think about stuff like that, if you just want androgyny, then you should talk to a doctor about it, and they can advise you further. I am not a medical professional in any way, shape, or form. The next question is, when did your voice stop cracking? Was it at 8 months? Does it still crack? Yeah, I think it stopped cracking around 8 months. Boy, I sounded like a prepubescent teen for a very long time. It was very embarrassing. But it was also kind of like exciting because I was like, I love my voice now. But yeah, my voice dropped very quickly, because the men in my family have very low voices. So yeah, it dropped really quickly, and it leveled out around 8 or 10 months, I think. My singing voice has improved tremendously. There are still, like, I could still train myself to sing higher, but my singing voice is just it's easier and easier to access those higher ranges the longer that I've been on T and the more that my voice is settled. So that's great. Yeah, so you'll sound like a little kid for a while, but then it goes away and you have a nice, low, sexy voice. Last question, I probably should have started with this one. It says, what dose are you on now, and what dose did you start with? So right now, I finally got to see a doctor and like get this stuff sorted out, because for the longest time, because of COVID and college and all that, I was on a very inconsistent dosage. So I started off on 0.25 milliliters per week. And then I went up at 6 months. I went up to 0.5 milliliters per week, and then I like didn't have access to it, and it was all wonky, and so I started rationing it, and I went down to 0.25 again, and then I went down to like 0.25 milliliters every other week, and sometimes every 3 weeks. So yeah, I'm now currently at 0.5 milliliters per week again, which is what I wanted to be at this whole time. So yeah, there's another person in the parking lot. So that's about that. I don't really know what else I can say about all this garbage. Yeah, I hope you found this helpful in some way, shape, or form. And as always, if you have questions about this stuff, I am so willing to answer them. These videos were so helpful to me when I was figuring stuff out, and I want to give back to the queers. Okay, so yeah, if you like this, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you again next time. And also, follow me on Instagram. Maybe, you know what, I'm also thinking about making a TikTok. I swore I wouldn't do it, but I might do it. So, yeah, follow me on Instagram. My username is jude.andelin. Jude Andelin. Woo! Okay. See you next time. Bye-bye.